All right. Well, this week, Gary, we're talking DKI portfolio company Coursera and their earning announcements. We've got Las Vegas Sands as well, reported last week. We'll talk about the Magnificent Seven. They make another appearance as we've been talking over the last couple of weeks. GDP, PCE. Gary, locked and loaded, ready to go.
Let's go.
All right. Thing number one, Gary, on this week's edition of the Five Things. Coursera, we're talking ticker COUR, enrolls 2 million in AI courses. Market is thrilled.
All right, Rob. So Coursera has been a tough pick around here. The company has suffered from two things. One, while it's had nothing but positive growth, in fairness, that growth rate has slowed. And at times the company has given some not so terrific guidance. They tend to beat guidance, but there's been some negative sentiment around that slowing growth rate. The other thing that's happened is competitor TWOU, which has a horrendous business model, which is different from Coursera's. They've handled their business so poorly that last week the company declared bankruptcy. And then there's non-competitor Chegg, which is really a tutoring / cheating site. And they've had horrendous results. Again, it's a different business, but every time these companies announce bad results, it takes down Coursera stock. So last week, Coursera reported second quarter earnings. Expectations were pretty low for the company. They came in and beat it. They beat the top line by $6 million. That got people excited. More importantly, a lot of people have incorrectly been saying that AI is a threat to Coursera's business, that basically people weren't going to take classes anymore. They were just going to use AI to do everything. No one needs to learn anything. We might as well cancel school for everybody. I always thought that was a bad take, especially given the fact that Coursera was teaching classes. They were hosting classes to teach people how to use AI. I think there are a lot of people who want to learn that. Well, last week we finally got the proof. Coursera had a whole bunch of new AI related courses. These were not courses created by AI. They were courses created to help people learn how to use it. They had 2 million enrollments in that. So what happened was the company beat and the stock closed the next day up almost 45%. I'd say it was a pretty good day.
Yeah, it was a great day. And Gary, I know you and I had talked about this, I think a few months ago, right? And it was almost like we were a little ahead of the curve, got caught in the wash a little bit with Coursera. But obviously I told a lot of people, hey, still as excited as ever. My question is actually, and I don't even know if you have these numbers because it wasn't in the takeaway. Do you know what the distribution of growth is based on from a geographical standpoint? My curiosity, right, and where I've always seen Coursera as a huge value is with the globalized workforce, right, and especially in areas like IT, staffing, digital marketing, where we play in the space, right? I see it as a huge game changer for that market, to where there's a lot of overseas talent that can be leveraged.
Yeah, Rob, I think there are three areas where we would expect to see some really good growth from Coursera. One is in emerging markets, places like Brazil or India, where you have large numbers of young people who are driven to work really hard and get an education and get good jobs, but who don't have the ability to take on ridiculous amounts of debt or pay huge amounts to either travel to the US or pay full prices. Those are markets where the ability to offer courses or certificates or degrees for a few $1,000s, that works in that population, that group of people, and they get their degrees done or certificates done really quickly, and then end up with better jobs. It works really well for them. The other two places where I think we can expect to see some really good growth from Coursera is in corporations. And so somebody today had suggested to me on Twitter or X, they tagged me with, I thought, some really interesting analysis. And they were talking about, hey, wait a minute, why wouldn't Microsoft or Google just host these courses themselves? And the truth is they don't want to do that. They partner with Coursera. Coursera hosts these courses, they advertise them, they get them in front of more people. And then what happens is people will, instead of paying $100 or $200 or $300,000 for a university degree, they'll take these courses, this suite of courses that have been put together by companies like Microsoft or Google. And then when they complete them, Coursera will say, okay, great, we certify that you've taken these courses, and then they can go apply for jobs at these tech companies and they will have demonstrated we've taken the relevant coursework, we know what we need to know to hit the ground running, and that's working really well. The final area where I think we could see some growth are in government partnerships. Some of the local and state governments have figured out they may have a high unemployment rate, and paying people to take these courses so that they can get employed is actually better than paying them to be on welfare for longer or on unemployment for longer. And that's good for everybody, right? If you are a taxpayer, you'd much prefer that people not be on public assistance and get jobs. And if you're somebody who's on public assistance and the government is saying, hey, we're going to offer you courses and training and help you get a job, that's a much better life than being on welfare or being on unemployment for years and years. So these are kind of those win-win-win programs where everybody ends up better off. I think you get better outcomes for everybody, especially the people who, can start to build a career instead of staying on public assistance. So I think those are all areas for growth for Coursera. And those are the kinds of things that, we feel good about supporting. This is one of those companies where you feel like, hey, wait a minute, they're actually doing some really good things here.
Great stuff, Gary, and excellent things coming out of the Coursera camp. We'll be sure to keep you in tune with any new developments over the rest of this year and into next.